In the 13th chapter of Revelation, John stands on the sand of the sea. And he sees a beast rising out of the water. It has 7 heads and 10 horns, and on its horns are 10 diadems, and on its heads are blasphemous names. The beast he sees is like a leopard, its feet are like the feet of a bear, its mouth is like the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gives it his power, his throne, and great authority. This is the beast from the sea, and for 1800 years, the historicist tradition has read it as one of the most important symbols in the whole book of Revelation. What is the sea? The historicist answer begins here. The sea is not literal water. In the 17th chapter of Revelation, the angel himself explains the symbol. The waters that the harlot sits upon are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. The sea, throughout the prophetic books, is the restless, churning mass of humanity, the nations in turmoil, the peoples of the earth in constant motion. So the beast does not rise out of the ocean. It rises out of the nations. It is born of history itself, out of the conflict and chaos of the peoples of the earth. Rome, the empire John knew, rose exactly this way, out of the nations it had conquered, out of the sea of peoples it had swallowed. And the shape of the beast is the second key. John describes it with care, like a leopard, with the feet of a bear, with the mouth of a lion. 7 centuries earlier, the prophet Daniel had seen 4 beasts rise from the sea, a lion with eagle's wings, a bear raised up on one side, a leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads, and a 4th beast, terrible and dreadful, with great iron teeth. Babylon was the lion. Medo Persia was the bear. Greece was the leopard. And Rome was the 4th beast, the Iron Empire. Now, in Revelation, the beast from the sea carries all 4 of Daniel's beasts on one body. The historicists saw this as a deliberate sign. The power John describes is not a new empire out of nowhere. It is the heir of them all, the successor kingdom that gathered into itself the strength of Babylon, the cruelty of Persia, the speed of Greece, and the iron power of Rome. It is the last of the great world powers, the empire that stood when the gospel went out into the world. The 7 heads and 10 horns deepen the picture. For the historicists, the 7 heads pointed to Rome's 7 hills, and to the 7 forms of government that shaped her history: kings, consuls, decemvirs, dictators, tribunes, and emperors. The 10 horns were the 10 kingdoms into which the Western Empire divided after its fall. The beast's authority, in other words, is not a mystery. It is built on the real kingdoms of Europe, the real succession of empires, the real history of the ancient world. The symbols are precise because the history is real. Then John shows where the beast's power comes from. The dragon, the ancient serpent, the one identified in the 12th chapter as Satan, stands on the shore of the sea and gives the beast his power, his throne, and great authority. This is the deepest point of the historicist reading. The persecution of the church across the centuries is not random cruelty, and it is not merely politics. It is the work of the ancient enemy working through the machinery of empire. The beast is the instrument. The dragon is the hand that wields it. When the empire persecuted the Christians, when the state demanded what belonged to God, the historicists saw the dragon's throne behind the emperor's throne. And the beast speaks. John says it opens its mouth in blasphemies against God, blaspheming his name and his dwelling, and those who dwell in heaven. It was granted authority over every tribe and people and language and nation, and all who dwell on earth will worship it. The historicists saw in these blasphemies the claims of a power that reached for the prerogatives of God, an authority that demanded the worship and the obedience that belonged to heaven alone. Blasphemy, in the biblical sense, is not mere bad language. It is the claim to stand in the place of God. And the beast from the sea makes that claim. But here is the strange and hopeful detail: the beast is given authority for 42 months. Its time is measured. 42 months of 30 days each are 1,260 days, and in biblical prophecy a day is a year. For the historicists, these 1,260 years are the long age of the church in the wilderness, the centuries when the beast held sway over the saints, the long dark middle of the story. The beast is powerful, but it is not eternal. It is given a season, and the season has an end written into it from the beginning. The historicists dated that season with care. Beginning in the age of Justinian in the 6th century, When the old order of Rome was finally set aside, the 1260 years ran through the long centuries of the Middle Ages, through the Reformation, and to the threshold of the modern world. The number is precise, because the prophecy is precise. John describes a deadly wound. One of the heads of the beast seems slain, as it were, by the sword, and yet it lives. The historicists read this as the fall of the Western Empire. The ancient power that had terrorized the world is broken, humbled, its throne cast down. Rome had shed the blood of the saints, and Rome fell. The empire that had seemed immortal lay in ruins, and its provinces were divided among the kingdoms of Europe. And then the wound is healed. The whole earth marvels at the beast. The power returns, not as the pagan empire of the Caesars, but in a new form, with a new and greater claim to authority. The historicist tradition, from the reformers to the interpreters of the 19th century, has read this as the rise of papal Rome, the same city, the same throne, a new power over the nations and over the conscience of the Christian world. The beast was wounded, and the beast lived again. The world wonders and follows the beast. It worships the dragon, because he gave authority to the beast, and it worships the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast, and who can fight against it?" The ancient taunt of the enemies of Israel, who is like God, is turned inside out. The world asks it of a creature. The historicists saw here the universal sway of a counterfeit, a power that takes the place of God and asks the worship of the world. And then, in the middle of the vision, John stops and speaks directly to the reader. Here is a call for the endurance and faith of the saints. If anyone is to be taken captive, to captivity he goes. If anyone is to be slain with the sword he is slain. The saints are not promised escape from the beast. They are promised something better, that his reign is measured, his time is numbered, and his end is written. The call is to patient endurance, not to terror. The beast's power is real, but it is borrowed. The dragon gave it, and the dragon cannot keep it. For the historicists, from Victorinus of Pettau in the 3rd century, through the reformers of the 16th, to the great interpreters of the 19th, the beast from the sea is not a figure of the distant future. It is the power that persecuted the church through the centuries of its history, Rome, in its pagan and papal forms, the composite heir of Daniel's kingdoms, the enemy that made war on the saints and was given a time, and times, and half a time. The beast rises from the sea with power and blasphemy. But its time is measured. Its wound is written. Its end is fixed. And the saints do not need to fear the beast, because they know its number. This is the historicist reading, and it has comforted the persecuted church for 1800 years. The beast is great, but the book is greater, and the book has already told the end. This is the Unsealed, history through the lens of prophecy.